Chapter 11. Did you know, Cornelius asked us, that we're not alone on the island? There's a fascinating woman camping somewhere about, and two charming girls who are just about your age. Pete choked. Oh, I managed to say, two girls. The man's name had turned out to be Cornelius Callahan, and we were midway through a tour of his treehouse. He had been coming to Turtle Island for 3 summers, he said, and each summer he'd added a little more. A room here, a bridge there, an almost impossible rope swing way over there. He had taken us on a roundabout route, just to make things more interesting. First, we had climbed up the long rope ladder into the left-hand tree and gone out a short causeway to the library, a sunny room with bookshelves all around, a cuckoo clock on the wall, a comfortable reading chair, and a solid oak footstool. Then it was up some winding steps to his workshop, cluttered with coils of rope, cans of nails, odds and ends of wood, lots of tools hanging on the walls, and several ongoing projects. After that, we went up another ladder, ducked around the tree, went out on a branch to a sitting platform, and then crossed a long, narrow suspension bridge to the middle tree. We were above the living room and breakfast balcony now, so we left them for later and climbed even higher to his bedroom, a small room with an old leather trunk at the foot of the bed, a bright red rug on the floor, and a hand-carved birdhouse hanging just outside the window. And now, after crossing another long swaying bridge, we were taking a short rest on a sitting platform high in the third tree. That's right, said Cornelius. 2 girls. They said their names were Jill and Sunny. I met them just this morning. Do you know them? Honesty is almost the best policy, so I probably should have come right out and admitted. I probably should have looked him in the eye, man to man, and said, sure, we know them. They're our sworn enemies. In fact, we carried out a midnight raid on their camp last night, but we made a few tactical mistakes while we were there, and we'd really rather not talk about it if you don't mind. But instead, I stammered, yeah, well, sort of. I mean, I guess you could say we met them, but we don't really know them. I mean, we have talked to them a little bit, but they're not our best friends or anything. Well, you might want to get to know them better, said Cornelius firmly. They're 2 of the nicest young ladies I've met in a long time. Pete made a kind of gurgling noise. And Catherine, exclaimed Cornelius, his eyes suddenly lighting up. Catherine is Jill's aunt, you know. What an extraordinary woman. A woman of character and intelligence. A woman of spirit. He paused, gazing dreamily over the forest. You should have seen her eyes flash when she told me I was an idiot. He looked delighted. I didn't exactly know what to say, so I just sort of smiled politely. But Pete, as usual, got right to the point. She called you an idiot, he asked, looking interested. She did, said Cornelius, beaming fondly at the memory. And she was entirely within her rights to. I deserved everything she said. After all, I knocked over her tripod, squashed her camera case, and broke her tree. Pete and I stared at him. You attacked her camp? Said Pete, amazed. Cornelius looked puzzled. Attacked her camp? Why, no. Why would I want to do that? No reason, said Pete, backpedaling. He began fiddling with the fringes on his buckskin shirt. It was just a thought. I don't even know where her camp is, said Cornelius. I only met her this morning on my early morning hike, he sighed, remembering. There she was, as I came around the tree, kneeling in the soft morning light, cinching up the shoelaces on her hiking boots. For a moment, Cornelius seemed to be in wonder. It was such a lovely vision, he said, that I forgot to watch where I was going, and before I knew it, I ran smack into her tripod. It started to fall, and when I tried to stop it, I tripped over it, and I became somewhat entangled in the thing, and then I went down, landing, unfortunately, on her aluminum camera case. But the worst part was that as I was falling, I reached out and I grabbed hold of a tree trunk that was standing next to me. It turned out not to be a real tree trunk at all, but the fake one that Catherine hides inside when she takes pictures of birds. It was made of cardboard and paper mache or something, and I'm afraid I rather destroyed it. I guess that's when she called you an idiot, volunteered Pete. Exactly, said Pete. She called me a blithering idiot, a clumsy oaf, and a general all-around menace. His eyes sparkled. What a woman, he said. Pete and I exchanged a look. Of course, he continued, I felt it was wise to cut our visit short after that, and it was on my way back that I met Jill and Sunny. Naturally, I asked them all about Catherine. Did you know she's a professional wildlife photographer? A darn good one, too. I'll bet. By the way, have you met her? I shrugged my shoulders and I tried to look casual. Briefly, I said. Very, very briefly. I don't even think she'd recognize us if she saw us again. How could she? The only time she saw us was at night, and we were wearing a thick coat of mud and leaves from head to toe. Say, Cornelius, what's the room down there? Asked Pete, trying to change the subject. Oh, that, said Cornelius. That's my writing room. He got up. Come on, I'll show you. We climbed down and went into a small room built across two strong branches at the back of the tree. It was open and airy with windows all around. In fact, the entire top half of the front wall was completely open and rolled up canvas to let down in case of rain. Outside, mostly what you saw were leaves with soft sunlight filtering through them, so that the room had a secret hidden feeling to it. In the middle of the floor on the faded red carpet Indian rug was a table and an old typewriter with a messy pile of papers on it. There were stacks of books on the floor, an enormous dictionary on the special stand all by itself, and some watercolor paintings of birds on the walls. What kind of stuff do you write? I asked. Detective novels, replied Cornelius. I've written 8 Max Malone mysteries, and I'm working on my 9th now. Wow, I said. I've never met a real writer before. Hey, is this one of yours? Asked Pete. He was holding up a paperback called The Buddha Bleeds at Midnight by C.P. Callahan, and the picture on the front showed a man with flinty eyes and a trench coat effortlessly blocking a punch thrown by some guy wearing a karate outfit. In the background, there were a lot of neon signs in Japanese and a scene of an old man sitting on a mat floor staring at a golden Buddha. Across the bottom, it said, Another mystery thriller with Max Malone, the thinking man's private eye. Cornelius nodded. That's my latest, he said. I had a lot of fun with that one. How'd you decide to write mysteries? I asked him. Oh, I don't know. I guess it's because I've always loved adventure, in theory anyway. Can't say I've ever really had any adventures myself. It seems like I've spent a whole lot of my time at home in front of my typewriter thinking up exciting things for Max Malone to do. In fact, one of the reasons I built this treehouse, he said, looking around with satisfaction, was that I decided it was about time for me to have a few adventures of my own. Pete flipped through the book. This looks great, he said. Do you mind if we borrow it? Not at all, said Cornelius. You can keep it if you like. I have lots more. He asked us if we wanted to have a snack down at the breakfast balcony overlooking the inlet. We said yes, but just as we were heading out the door, I happened to glance back at the typewriter and suddenly an idea popped into my head. A terrific idea, a brilliant idea, an idea for how to put the certain pair of giggling girls in their place. I stopped. Say, Cornelius, I said, would it be okay if Pete and I used your typewriter a little later? There's something important we'd like to type. Sure, he said. In fact, you can use it right now if you want. You could join me below when you're finished. Pete looked confused, but I hurried on before he had a chance to say anything. Gee, thanks, Cornelius. That'll be great. There's plenty of typing paper on the table, Cornelius said. Take your time. I'll just be tidying up a bit. After all, it's always possible Catherine might happen by. He started down the ladder, humming to himself. I pulled Pete back inside. What's going on? He wanted to know. I explained my plan. He liked it. He liked it a lot. He said the girls were finished. He said they were goners. He said the hour was at hand when the two of us could once again hold our heads up with pride, when we could once again walk tall among the cool shadows of the deep, dark forest. He said I was a genius. He said I was, Pete, a wonderful and fantastic genius at that, and I could have his hunting horn, his buckskin shirt, and his very life if need be. He said, Pete, Can we just write the letter? Right. We got down to business. First, we worked out a few details, and then I sat down at the typewriter, put in a clean sheet of paper, and began typing. Half an hour later, we were finished. I pulled the sheet out with a flourish, and we read it again, snickering to ourselves. And now, I said gleefully as I folded the letter and I put it in my pocket, all we have to do is go back to Bullfrog Lagoon and catch a couple of turtles. So, great time for a prediction. What in the world could they be doing? Why did they type a letter? And what do they need turtles for? And that was chapter 11.